Hey, gardening friends. Welcome back to week 6 of my gardening vlog. It was a beautiful day in Zone 7A, so I went ahead and I stuck my cabbages and my bok choy and kale out to start hardening them off. It's getting close to time to plant, and I can't wait. And while I was outside, I checked on our little blackberry friend, and he looks amazing. Lots of new leaves, nice and green, and I am here for it. I happen to have a handy helper on this day, so I decided to go ahead and get my onions planted. So all I'm going to do here is just uncover all the straw that I put down and the cardboard that I put down over the last year or so. There wasn't anything on this end of this garden bed last year. I just put cardboard so that it could break down and build up the soil. The other end of this bed is where I have my garlic planted, and there's going to be a pretty large space between the garlic and the onions that I may or may not plant some sunflowers or something in, just to take up the space. But for now, I'm just going to pull all this excess straw down and just kind of leave it piled up in the middle. Once I get enough space cleared off that I think that I can plant my little onion sets, I'm going to use this stirrup rake to kind of break the soil up. And as I said in the last vlog, our soil here in Western Kentucky is primarily clay. And when I moved in, this was a flower bed and it was mostly just gravel and weeds. So over time, I've been laying down cardboard and straw and just letting it break down. And now the soil's really nice. So I'm hoping that my onions will do really well since my garlic always does really well. So here I'm just kind of eyeballing some rows here. At this point, I wasn't really sure how many onion sets I was going to be able to get per row. So I'm just trying to kind of plot out where I'm going to put them. And here I just flipped my rake over and I'm using the end of the handle to kind of just put little divots in the soil to give me an idea of about how far apart they need to be and how many I'll be able to get into one row. Once I had a better idea of which direction I wanted to go with this, I went ahead and started putting my little onion sets in about an inch in and about 4 or 5 inches apart. And then I'll come back in a few minutes when I'm done and I just cover them over lightly with soil. Some of these were not very good. I probably should have planted these out about 2 weeks ago, but life happens. So I just picked through the bulbs, and the ones that were small or seemed kind of squishy, I just tossed them and I planted the best of what I had. So it wasn't quite 80 bulbs, but it's still a lot of onions. And after I get all these guys tucked in, I'm just going to go back with a little bit of that straw that I raked down and just put a light covering of straw on top of the soil to kind of help keep the moisture in and protect the bulbs. And after I get all the outside stuff done, I head inside to start up-potting my tomatoes. Now, I'm using red Solo cups, and to use those you need to poke holes in the bottom. So all I've done is taken an old metal chopstick, heated it up with a lighter, and melted holes through the bottom. Make sure you do this in a well-ventilated area. I had the window cracked and I had a fan on. Just because plastic fumes, that's not good. But yeah, I just poked 3 holes in the bottom of each cup. And it took a while, but hey, I didn't really have anything else going on and it needed to be done. Jess over at Roots and Refuge just posted that she has her husband use a long skinny drill bit, but I can't find my drill bits, so this is how we did it. I noticed a few days ago that it was getting more and more difficult to keep my tomatoes well watered. I would bottom water and then the next day they'd just be dried out again. So just as an experiment, I gently pulled one out of its little pot and it was just all roots, hardly any soil. Um, so I said, yep, it's time to up pot. So all I'm going to do at this point is just put a little soil in the bottom of my solo cup and top it off with more soil. I'm going to try to get these tomatoes as deep in these cups as possible so that they can start setting off more roots from the stem. And I did pull off a couple of the lower stems just to make, more space so I could plant it deeper. Tomatoes would ideally like to grow more like a vine. They would lay down on the ground, and everywhere where you see a little hair on the stem of the plant, those little hairs have the potential to become roots. So the tomato would grow along the ground and just drop roots along the stem and then put fruit off. We grow our tomatoes upright because it lowers the risk of it getting, diseases and rot from being wet and laying on the ground. So we grow our tomatoes vertically, though they would prefer to grow horizontally. So I'm just going to mark my cup here with the variety that I uppotted, the date that I initially planted the seed, and the date that I uppotted it. You don't have to do this. This is for me. I have a little bit of the OCD, and this is my first year starting seeds inside, so I would like to be able to look back and know what to expect next year. So I'm just going to continue to move through all of these tomatoes, uppotting them, and hopefully they will be easier to keep watered at this point. But yeah, that was a lot of roots. I probably could have done this a week or so ago. And here I wanted to show you those little hairs I was talking about. Not that, that's a cat hair. The tomato hairs. All of those little fuzzy bits on the stem have the potential to become a root. So that's why we're planting them deeper into the cups, to give these guys a stronger root system so when they get transplanted out into the garden, they have a great head start. And the last ones to do are my little spoon tomatoes. And I want you to know that these guys are crazy. I've had to pinch little teensy tiny blossoms off of these spoon tomatoes 3 times. So I'm really hoping they can keep it together until it's time to go to the garden. Because they were just as root bound as the big guys. And I was just like, what in tarnation? Why are they already putting off flowers? I don't know. I used to, this is like I said, this is my first year trying to start my own plant from seeds. And normally I would just buy them from the hardware store. So, I've never seen a plant so small trying to put off flowers. It was just perplexing. It was like, what? I don't know. I pinched them off. Every time I pinched them off, the plant needs to worry about growing and not making tiny tomatoes. But yeah, since uppotting these guys, they stay watered longer, and everybody seems a lot happier, so fingers crossed. And just a little update on my other stuff I have. My mammoth basil is basiling. It's getting really big. Um, I've had a lot of my peppers come up, actually even more since I filmed this. I think I only have 2 peppers left that haven't germinated, so I'd say that's pretty good. I think I have 1 jalapeno and one of the poblanos that hasn't come up, and everything else did. Okra is looking fantastic. The zinnias and the calendula and the straw flowers all look really great. I'm not even sure what I'm going to do with all of those snapdragons. I am half blind when it comes to tiny things, and these guys are little. But my daughter did tell me she would help me when it was time to separate all of those little snapdragons into their own pots. So I'm thankful for young eyes. But yeah, everybody's looking good. And just a side note, when you pull branches off of your tomatoes, you can put these in a glass of water in the window, and all those little hairs will make roots, and you can just transplant those branches. And here I'm having a little experiment. My tomatillos and ground cherries never did come up. Not a single one. Oh, that's not true. I had 1 tomatillo, but 1 tomatillo by itself is pointless. You have to have more than one. So I'm gonna try this trick I saw on this guy's channel. I think it's called Bubble Beat, where he puts his seeds in a wet paper towel in a baggie and then puts them on a heat mat. I was reading the back of the seed package for both of them, and it said that germination temperature should be between 75 and 90 degrees. And I was like, well, it stays fairly cool in my office. So all I'm going to do is put them underneath a tray on the heat mat, with it set to about 75. Then I'm going to check on them in a couple of days, and if any of them germinate, then I'm going to very gently remove them from the paper towel and put them into their own pot. So I'm really hoping that works because I am just determined to have both tomatillos and ground cherries. I want them so bad. I don't know what my problem is. So yeah, the next vlog, I'll give you an update on whether or not this worked. But that's all I got for you guys this week. I'm going to close this video with some footage from my sakura tree, which is in full bloom. And until next week, you guys, happy gardening.